And I almost after that I started family. I just that to want to buy back. We have to keep it. No, but after that we will check. We check it taking longer. So the people go to it. That's my question.
So, welcome to the first AIDS 2015 webinar series, and thank you all for joining us. So, Philippa Marquez, Program Officer at the International AIDS Society in charge of the abstract-driven part content of the conference program, will guide you through the abstract submission. Kim Minaj, Program Intern at the International AIDS Society, will guide you through the Abstract Mentor Program. Miriam Cornell, Managing Editor of the Journal of the International AIDS Society, JAIS, since April 2010, will explain you how to write an abstract. And your questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. So now I'll leave the stage to Philippa.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar. So as Tamara was saying, we will, regarding the abstract submission, we will address a bit the process, the submission system, also some questions regarding the guidelines, and also some policies. AIDS 2014 welcomes submission of abstracts for original contribution to the field in the 5 scientific tracks that you can see on the slide. So track A covers basic and the translational research, track B, the clinical research, track C, epidemiology and prevention research, track D, social and political research, law, policy and human rights, and the track E, the implementation research, economic systems and synergies with other health and development sectors. So we would recommend you to see more about the track scope and objectives and also the track categories on the conference website, and you have the links there on the slide at the bottom, just to see what exactly each track covers and what would be the most suitable for your abstract. To submit an abstract, the first thing that you need to do is to go to your conference profile, and you can see there on the screenshot the link. It's from the conference website, and if you have already a conference profile from past conferences, you can use the same credentials, otherwise you will need to create a new one. And after that, on the overview page, you can see the abstract submission, and you just click to submit a new abstract. This year, the conference offers 2 options for the abstract submission. We have an option 1, which is most suited for research conducted in all disciplines, and we have an option 2, suited for lessons learned through program, project, or policy implementation or management. And the reason why we have the 2 different submission options is that the conference organizers were concerned that the traditional structure of the background, methods, results, and conclusions would be difficult for certain groups that actually do more project implementation or project management, that don't have a formal research question to start with and the subsequent methods. And on the slide, you can see the differences between option 1 and the option 2. So each one of them has 4 predefined sections. And given that we're focusing more on option 1, let's look at that. So on the background, you should indicate the purpose and the objective of the research. On the methods, you have all the parts regarding the study period, setting, location, the population, the design. On the results, You have the outcomes and the findings of your study, and on the conclusions, all the part regarding findings and outcomes of the study and future implications of these results. And Miriam will guide you a bit more on this part when she does her presentation. And here on this slide, you can see some examples of topics of abstracts that would fit more into option 1 or option 2. And for option 1, you can have PMTCG outcomes among HIV-exposed infants. For example, how to get more HIV-positive infants on life-saving treatments. Also, abstracts regarding PrEP, HIV testing and treatment access among men who have sex with men, social and structural barriers and facilitators. As on option 2, maybe key findings from evaluation studies would fit better, lessons learned while implementing HIV programs. So you can see that the difference between the two forms is not so much on who does it, meaning is it a community group or is it a university group, but more on how it is done. So community-based research can easily fall under option 1 or option 2, for example, depending how it is done. Someone that does more evaluation and monitoring would probably choose option 1 to submit their abstract. One thing that is important in terms of the system is that it's not possible to change the submission form in the middle of the process, meaning if you start, when you create the abstract, if you select option 1, you can't change to option 2 in the middle of the process. So here you would need to withdraw your abstract and to submit a new one. And this is not a problem, given that you can change and edit your abstract until the deadline, which is the 6th of February. So after choosing which option fits better for your abstract, you will need to select your track and your category. And so the first step would be to select your track. And here, let's take track B as an example. So after you select track B, you will have a drop-down menu that gives you access to categories headings. And you can guide yourself through the little plus and minus signal to increase or to show more or to make disappear the categories. So your second step would be to select a heading, and let's take linkage and retention in care as an example. After you do this, you get the actual list of categories under which you will submit your abstract. You need to select one, and these are the underlined ones, and it would be your third step. And as an example, category B59, retention in care. Again, the recommendation, if you have any concerns and if you're not sure about which track and which category best fits your abstract, would be to go back to the conference website under the Abstracts tab and read the track scope and objectives and see which one would fit better your work. All completed abstracts will be reviewed, so if you're a bit unsure if the track or the category that you've selected are not the most suited for your abstract, don't worry, they will always be reviewed. The process may be a bit delayed, but all abstracts submitted to incorrect tracks or categories will be reassigned and reviewed as all the others. Just one more thing regarding the categories. You can see here that some categories have the HIV cure logo before them, and the submission system is also used for submitting abstracts to the HIV cure symposium, and you can see which categories are pertinent to them. So if you wish, during the submission system, you will be asked if you also want to submit your abstracts to the HIV Cure Symposium. If you want more information about the symposium, please check the link at the bottom of the slide. Also to see which categories are available for submission. So going down to the abstract title and text, this is a screenshot of the system of the fields that you have to fill in. And the title of the abstract, the maximum number is 30 words, and regarding the text, the maximum number is 350 words. You can also add tables and images. It's not mandatory, you can do it. Regarding the tables, the maximum is 3, and each row counts as 10 words. And for the images, you can add 3 images maximum, and each one counts as 50 words. And you can see at the bottom that the system counts your words, and you can see how many you have left. And if you have too many, you will just have to work again on your text in order to meet the 350 word criterion. So as I was telling you, regarding the submission system navigation, you may at any time save the abstract as a draft. You can go out of the system, you can come back again, you can edit the abstract, you can submit it again, and you can go around this little process until the final deadline. So the submission deadline is the 6th of February, and only the submitted abstracts will be considered. So if you submit an abstract and later you still want to change it, you can go if it's still under the right time, and you just need to submit it again. So this is, for less experienced authors, it's a very useful tool because you can always go back and change until you're satisfied with your final work. Just some common reasons for abstract rejection, and this is important for you to have in mind when you're doing your work. An abstract that is poorly written, and here I would also like to remind you about that all abstracts need to be submitted in English. So if you're not comfortable with English, maybe you would ask someone to review your abstract to meet this criteria. Abstracts that don't have enough new information, where there's a clear objective or an hypothesis missing. When the linkage between the different parts, meaning between the background, the methods, the results, and the conclusions, if they're not comprehensible, if there's an overlap with another abstract, and sometimes people from the same group submit the same abstract or very similar ones. If the study is too preliminary, or if it's still insufficient to draw any conclusions, and also if there's a lack of originality, these would be the most common reasons for abstract rejection. And we have some specific to option 1 and option 2. And in option 1 would be if the methods, either quantitative or qualitative, are inadequate or insufficient to support your conclusions, and if your summary of results is missing or inadequate. Just to call your attention to some important submission policies, and one of them is the resubmission policy, and The resubmission policy says that an abstract which has been previously published or presented at a national, regional, or international meeting can only be submitted provided that there are new methods, new findings, updated information, or other valid reasons for submitting that can be provided by the author. So during the submission, you are required to indicate details of publication, of presentation, and also reasons for why you are submitting the abstract to the conference. So what is new compared to what was already published? And this information will be considered by the scientific program committee when they are making their final selection decision. Another important aspect is plagiarism, and the conference organizers regard plagiarism as a serious professional misconduct. And all abstracts are screened for plagiarism, and when it's identified, the abstract and any other abstract submitted by the same author are immediately rejected. And also, in addition, if there is a scholarship application attached to this abstract, the application will also be cancelled. And finally, just call your attention to the embargo policy. In the case of AIDS 2014, as with most scientific and medical conferences, all abstracts are under a strict embargo policy. And you can see at the submission guidelines that the embargo is lifted for abstracts accepted for oral presentation at the start of the session, and for those abstracts presented at the poster exhibition and poster discussions, the embargo is only lifted on the Friday before the conference, when we first start distributing the conference bags to delegates. This means that the authors may publish the fact that their abstract has been selected for the conference, but they can't publish the results of the study before the embargo is lifted. Any breaks to the embargo policy will be studied on a case-by-case, and as an ultimate consequence, it could lead to the abstract being withdrawn from the conference. So as I told you, for more information regarding this, you should check the submission guidelines available on the conference website. And this was my part, and just everything that I've told you here, and we have a very short time, but all this information is available on the conference website. We will also have a PowerPoint tutorial on how to submit an abstract in terms of the system, like the step-by-step. But we will have a Q&A time at the end, so if you have any questions, looking forward to that. Thank you.
And now we move on to Abstract Mentor Program, and I leave the stage to Kim.
Hello people, and welcome to the webinar on the Abstract Mentor Program. What is the Abstract Mentor Program? The Mentor Program allows experienced abstract submitters to provide feedback on your draft abstract via an online forum. Who can use the Abstract Mentor Program? Anyone can use it. Anyone who feels they would like some help bringing their abstract before submitting it to the conference. The only thing is that you must have a high level of English. The Abstract Mentor Program is not a language checking service. When can I receive feedback from the Abstract Mentor Program? The opening of the program is on the 18th of November, that's next Monday. And when you send in your feedback, you will get, when you send in your abstract, you will receive feedback within 10 days. This means that when you wait until the last moment to send an abstract, which would be the 22nd of January, you would have your feedback in by the beginning of February, leaving you only 3 days to submit to the conference. And this is why we strongly advise you to submit your abstract well before this deadline. That way you have enough time to correct it, and perhaps even you could submit your abstract a second time once you have made your correction. The deadline for the conference is on the 6th of February, so leave yourself enough time to apply any changes. How do you submit your abstract for mentoring? The first step is to create a conference profile on the AIDS 2014 website. This is the same procedure as explained previously, and you can keep this profile for your official submission afterwards. This is where you can make your conference profile, point A. This will take you to another page where you can create a profile with your email address. Once you've created your profile, you go on to step 2, which is completing the Health E Foundation e-course, the first module on scientific writing, conference abstracts. And you do this in order to learn how to write scientifically, and at the end you will be given a code. You will see information about the program on top of the list. The first thing you have to do is complete the e-course. The link is right here on the top of the Abstract Mentor Program main page. Then you will complete the Healthy Foundation course, get the code, and you can come back and click here at point C to actually submit your draft. This is where what the Health E Foundation course looks like. You'll click on Start the Module Conference Abstracts, and that will take you to the part where you will see to the left a drop-down menu, and you click on every tab and complete the exercises. So that's from introduction down to post-survey. And once you've gone through the whole menu and you've taken the post-course survey, you'll receive the code which you need, and you'll go back to this page and point C and have a mentor review your draft abstract. That takes us on to step 3, which is actually filling in your draft abstract on the online form. As you can see, point A is where you have to fill in your e-course validation code. Then you go on and you choose option 1 for research-based abstracts. If you're not sure which option you're supposed to choose, watch the second seminar for option 2, program or policy implementation on the 14th of November. You can also read information on the website, and there will be an opportunity to ask your mentor if he agrees with the option choice you have made. Underlined, you can see that there will be a question box at the end of the form, and we strongly advise that you use it for anything you're unsure about. The same goes for the next steps, C and D, which are choosing your track and category. The second part of the AMP, or Abstract Mentor Program draft abstract form, consists of boxes where you fill in the text for your draft abstract. Remember to check the word limit, which will be kept. It will be shown for you how many words you've been filling in. keep track of the word count, and also remember to read the descriptions given above every box to fill in your text. The second or the third part, the last part of the draft abstract form, you can add figures or tables, but be sure that these are in either Word, Excel, or JPEG format. On any other format will not work, so just double check this. Here is the box I was talking about for any questions. Don't feel embarrassed to ask and just use the box. If you don't know what to ask, some examples are provided above the box. Once you've filled this in and sent it off, you will receive feedback on your abstract. The feedback you can expect will talk about the structure and the scientific content of the text you filled in. It will look at your writing style and also help you choose the options, categories, and track choices. The feedback will not be on your level of English, which should be high enough, or on any chance of being accepted or not, because this mentoring process is completely independent of the conference review and selection process. Step 5, you can submit 2 different drafts for 1 round of feedback each, or you can resubmit your second, corrected version of a draft. So you are offered 2 rounds of reviewing, and you can use this in 2 ways. As seen in the diagram, the first way you could use your 2 rounds, offer 2 different abstracts, so the blue and the green are different abstracts, submitted at the same time or one after the other, but they will both receive 1 round of feedback. Another way to use your 2 rounds of reviewing are to submit the same abstract twice. So that's number 1, the blue abstract, you submit it, you receive your feedback, and then you implement changes and resubmit the same abstract for a second round, and you receive feedback on this as well. Be careful if you plan, especially if you plan to resubmit your abstract, if you only have 1 abstract, to submit the first time well ahead of the deadline, as the whole process could take up to 20 days, and you need to leave enough time to meet the deadline for the conference. You will be able to rewrite your draft before submitting on the 6th of February. So this was the Abstract Mentor Program presentation. Thank you very much for listening. You have another week before the Abstract Mentor Program opens, and I suggest that you start preparing your draft so that you can send it to us as soon as possible. If you have any questions, please ask them after the following part of the webinar. Thank you.
And now we move on with Miriam on how to write an abstract.
Okay, hello. My name is Miriam Körner. I'm the managing editor of the Journal of the International AIDS Society. And in my presentation, I will provide guidelines on abstract writing. Just a short note about the journal. We are online only, peer-reviewed, a science journal, and we are free to access. Our main mission is to strengthen research capacity in resource-limited settings and to support less experienced authors. That's why we organize skills-building workshops and trainings in scientific writing. Before we look at how to write an abstract, let's revisit the definition of an abstract. A conference abstract is a summary of your work that you would like to present and includes all the important details and data from your study. It is important to remember that the abstract-driven sessions at the conference are more scientific in nature, so delegates look to these for evidence-informed best practices and lessons learned. The difficulty in writing a good abstract is its length and trying to squeeze in all the information in a tight word limit. While developing your abstract, you want to constantly think, can I say this more concisely, in a clearer way? Have I included sufficient information, or is there superfluous detail? My colleague Philippa presented in detail the guidelines for AIDS 2014 abstracts, and I recommend to carefully go through them again on the website as well before submitting. The requirements are that you need to structure your abstract into 4 sections with the headings background, methods, results, and conclusions for option 1. Then there is, of course, the title and options to include figures and tables. I will talk of each section in turn and give an example to show what to look out for when drafting your abstract. In the title, you need to summarize your study in 30 words or less. Your title, therefore, needs to be short and specific, and it also needs to be representative and at the same time informative. Think of the questions: what is the topic? Who is the study population? Where was the study done? How was the study done? If your title can answer these questions, then you have covered the main information needed. It is not necessary to give away your conclusions in the title. These declaratory titles can sometimes be misleading, as you will struggle to fit in your study in a title of 30 words. You're better off giving the abstract reviewers and delegates an accurate picture of the scope of your study. Think of your title as your mini advertisement. Delegates will read the title in the conference program and make a decision of what to go and see among all the competing sessions. If your title is too broad and people cannot figure out if they will be interested in what the presentation will be about, they will go somewhere else. Let's look at an example. Here it says, learn to lead. Training opinion leaders increases HIV knowledge. Thinking about our questions now. What is the topic? A training to increase HIV knowledge. Okay. Who is the target population? Opinion leaders. Okay, that is also a good start. But there is no information about the where and how. So although it gives us some indication of what this abstract will cover, the title could be more specific. Catchy phrases such as this one here, learn to lead, may sound clever, but they don't really add value to the title. So an improved version of this title could read something like Evaluation of an HIV education training program aimed at African American opinion leaders piloted in the District of Columbia, USA. In this title, we cover the what with HIV knowledge training program. It also specifies this was a pilot study, the who, so it's more specific this time, and African opinion leaders. So the specific target group, and the where, in the District of Columbia, USA. And we also have the how. It is an evaluation of the training. So lots of information in just 20 words. Some general comments about the main abstract text, which I'm going to cover next. Again, as Philippa mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, this part cannot be longer than 350 words. We want to aim for a balance amongst the 4 sections. That does not mean they have to be exactly the same length. However, you want to ensure that not one section takes up all the space. For example, if the results section is too short, visually already your abstract does not look like it contributes significant new knowledge to the field, so not a very good first impression. If you use up all your word count in the background section, you will not be able to cover much of your study. So just keep that in mind. In addition, as it said in the definition of the abstract I showed, it has to be a standalone piece of writing. So i.e. it has to contain all the important information for a reader to understand the work we did. It is always a good idea to give your abstract to a colleague or friend who does not know much about your study and get the feedback. Having to write in English can be a challenge for non-native speakers. Unfortunately, there's no way around this than to use spell and grammar checks, find an English-speaking colleague to proofread, or even use a professional service. It would be unfortunate if peer reviewers cannot accurately assess the merit of your abstract because they have difficulty understanding your writing. Also use abbreviations carefully. Again, don't use them in the title. In the main text, only if the abbreviation is well known already and if the term is used more than 3 times. Always spell out abbreviations the first time they are used. For the conference here, AIDS 2014, you don't have to spell out HIV and AIDS. They can always be used without spelling them out first. Moving on to the background section. The background is the introduction to your study. Here are the three main messages that need to be included. What is the topic of the abstract? Why was the study done? What was the aim of the study? This will give your readers information about the general topic, the motivation behind the study, and the aim, what you try to achieve with the study. Adapt the level of your introduction to your audience. Are you going to a specialized HIV conference such as this one, where everyone will be very familiar with the topics, or do you go to a more general conference? So you have to think about this. For AIDS 2014, you can expect obviously the audience to have a good knowledge about the basics of HIV and AIDS. So it's a multidisciplinary conference, so you might want to think that not everyone is a specialist or an expert in your particular field. Here an example of a background section. As many as 34 million people are infected with HIV, and for every person put on treatment, 2 or more are infected with the virus. In the United States, African Americans are also affected by the HIV epidemic. Late presentation of HIV-infected individuals is a global problem. A training program was implemented to educate leaders on HIV. So we are looking at the three elements that should be included. The topic, that appears to be African Americans affected by the HIV epidemic. The motivation for the study seems to be late presentation of HIV-infected individuals, but it is not clear exactly what the specific problem is that was addressed. Lastly, the specific aim of the study presented, which should be detailed in the last sentence, is not very clear. We are given information that a training program was implemented, but exactly what the study aimed to accomplish is unclear. Again, I think we can tighten this up and improve the introduction. The first sentence can be deleted. 34 million people are infected with HIV. Delegates will hopefully know this. Let's try and build in more specificity and clarity. So the next sentence could be changed to high rates of late presentation of HIV-infected individuals remains an urgent health concern for this population. This topic is still African Americans affected by the HIV epidemic, but now we clarify that there are particular population at risk. The motivation again remains late presentation, but we now refer specifically to the problem within this population. Now we follow with some detail about the angle by which we try to address this problem, i.e. a training program targeted at African American opinion leaders, which is the Black HIV Society has developed a training program to increase HIV awareness and knowledge among opinion leaders of African American communities. The last sentence of the background then sets the scene by specifically stating the objectives of the study. Here, this was the evaluation of the educational component. So a good introduction will lead readers through a type of information funnel from general topic to specific aim, convincing the audience of the importance of the theme and the study. Now that we have raised the expectations of our readers of what is to come, we give them the tools in the method section to understand our findings. The details of your methodology depend on your type of study, and it is hard to generalize. If your study was, for example, basic biomedical clinical, you were talking more about experiments, interventions. If it's more a social science study, you were looking more at interviews or focus group discussions. So, though not applicable for every study, think of the following questions. When was your study conducted? Where? Who conducted the study and who was the study population? What were the main outcomes measured and how was the data collected and analyzed? Answering these questions in your method section will give readers information about the population, the context and time frame, the content and execution of the study, and how you arrived at your findings. This section is very critical for reviewers when they judge your abstract. Let's just go back to our knowledge training program for opinion leaders. The method section here reads, the training program was designed to educate people on HIV. Popular opinion leaders who would benefit from the program were recruited by the research team. Written informed consent was sought from all participants, but they were not asked about their HIV status. The participants worked in faith-based institutions, politics, or media. A test with 120 knowledge questions on HIV was given to the participants before and after the training. Here are our 5 questions. When was the study conducted? Oh, there's no information. Where was the study conducted? Again, no information except where the participants came from. Who? The method section tells us the target population was opinion leaders. Important information that the research team conducted the study is less important. Unless it wasn't maybe obvious. For example, if there was more details that would be needed, such as the study was conducted in collaboration with the Light for Life community-based organization, then that might be worth adding. What was the main outcome measured? From the test, we know the questions assessed knowledge on HIV, which would be the outcome of interest. This could maybe be a bit clearer. How was the study conducted? We are told it is a test before and after the training. It would be good to have more information about the test and how the results were analyzed. So we agree that there can be some adjustments made here. So an improved version could look something like this. We have added more detail about the training program. We include information about the when and where. We also want to inform readers about the study population and how the participants were selected. And finally, adding more clarity on the outcome measure, how the data was collected and analyzed. So here we talk about 5 educational models, how long they were, that they covered different topics. The study was conducted in 2010, 2011, and exactly where. And a pre-post test design with close-ended question was used. Again, more information about the actual evaluation and how the data was analyzed using summary statistics. Having sorted out the method section, we come to the all-important result section. Here you should describe your data and finding, not someone else's. The purpose of the results section is to show what was the knowledge you gained, and it should be written in the past tense. Be as specific as possible, especially if you have quantitative data, show off these numbers. You should avoid vague terms such as many or some. This can mean different things to different people. Also be careful with qualitative words that are not substantiated, such as important benefits were noted, significant differences were seen. So your readers really want to see how you ascertain these. Remember what you promised in your background section. Your results need to relate back to the aim you stated there. Differences between subpopulations can have an important effect on outcomes, and wherever applicable, you should disaggregate your data by sex and gender and provide relevant analyses. Let's find out how our opinion leaders fared in the tests. The results section reads 79.31% of participants consented to taking part, and 42 participants were finally included in the study with complete data sets. 62% of these participants were male and 38% were female. Most participants were older than 50 years. In total, 17 participants were from faith-based institutions, 19 from political groups, and only 6 from media. Comparing the number of correct answers before and after the training, a significant increase in knowledge was noted. This was also previously reported by a study in Uganda. Here are the elements to look out for. Is the data described from the study? Well, the last sentence describes someone else's findings, so that should not be in there. Is it written in the past tense? Okay. Are the findings described in a specific manner? I can see most here and significant increase. So that's maybe not as specific as it could be. Do the results link back to the aim? Yes, we are comparing before and after test results. Our data is aggregated by sex. It states the male and female participants, but there is no particular gender analysis. So this section obviously needs some improvements. The first sentence states how many participants took part. We should not start a sentence with a number, and we also want to use numbers or percentages consistently, for example, decimal places. So if we rewrite this section, this is a better example below. As you can see, we also add more information about what a complete data set means. We go on and take all the demographic data and place this in a table. That way, it's out of the way and frees up space for more important results. And we've also deleted the other study that we mentioned. It's still in the correct tense, and we added more specific results from the statistical analysis. We relayed back to the aim and added a gender analysis. So that's now a much improved result section. As mentioned, we relegated some of the demographic data to a table. So a few words about tables and graphs. You need to make a judgment call of whether your data can be more clearly and concisely presented in a graph or table over text. Rules of thumb are do not repeat data. Use tables for data sets and graphs to show trends. Just because you are allowed 3 tables and 3 graphs does not mean you should add all 6, come what may. Use them wisely as they do break up the textual flow of your abstract. Make sure your table or graph is easily readable and interpretable. Therefore, label axes, columns, and rows, and always provide headers and legends when needed. Now, just to jump ahead there, so that's an example of a table. And we can see this table could be improved. First, we should maybe add a title. So the table can stand on itself. Then the columns need headings to help readers understand what the numbers mean. Also careful with colors. They may not show up in black and white abstract books. And also people may be colorblind. As for the results section, use decimal places consistently and add units wherever needed. For example, here, month, days. An improved version of this table would therefore look something like this. So we have now reached the grand finale of your abstract, which is the conclusion section. Summarizing your main conclusion involves 3 elements. First of all, your take-home message that is based on your results. Then we step up 1 and mention the implications that this could have. Some speculation here is possible. If important recommendations can be drawn from your data, mention them here. You can also suggest future studies and, if applicable, your limitations. Sometimes these go hand in hand when you note a limitation of your study that you should be addressed in a future study. Therefore, think of these 3 questions when writing your conclusion section. As I mentioned, this needs to be strictly based on your data. Space is precious, so avoid obvious statements and repeating your results. Also, do not overgeneralize. Let's have a quick look at what an example conclusion could look like. So the main message here from the authors is that the knowledge has increased. According to them, the implications are that these are important findings and have worldwide significance. They recommend that more such training programs should be developed. I think we are skeptical. Repeating the results we already described is wasting precious words. Why this is an important achievement, and if this targeted African American opinion leaders can really generalize to worldwide implementation is not very clear. Also, we evaluated the training, not its impact, so we cannot really recommend further programs without this knowledge. An improved version could be something like this, where the conclusion is based on the evaluation, where we show that knowledge has increased. We can therefore imply that educating opinion leaders is a doable task, and now we extrapolate a little, that this could therefore enhance HIV awareness within their communities. But as we don't know this for sure, we recommend further studies on the actual impact of this program on the communities. And that's your abstract done. Just a short note about plagiarism, which Philippa mentioned is a serious offense when submitting an abstract. Plagiarism means using other people's ideas, words, or data without correct attribution. In an abstract, this is slightly different, as you will not use references unless you are referring to a very specific study that the readers need to know about to follow your abstract. However, this does not mean you can simply copy-paste other people's work. And here is a list of the can and can't do's when submitting your abstract. So you cannot copy word for word, but you can paraphrase or express it in your own words. You can use in the background, you can use previous knowledge, but you cannot imply this was yours unless it is true. And you can also not use other people's data or data that has been previously published by you. So here is an example at the end where I show a specific quote from an article, and then if you the first which says prevention with a positive approach has been advocated as one of the main strategies to reduce new instances of HIV infection. So if someone would try and reuse this and just change maybe 1 or 2 words, here I changed highlighted and decrease to reduce, and that is not enough. So that is still not acceptable. The second example of really trying to express this in your own words is much better and much more acceptable. And that is all from me. And I think we are taking questions.
So
Now it's time. So first of all, if you have any questions that may come up to your mind after, you can always write to abstract@AIDS2014.org. And if you need help in relation to the Abstract Mentor Program, then go to our AIDS 2013 website under the Abstract Mentor Program tab. So now we open the stage to everyone for questions and answers. I kindly ask you not to unmute you all because it might be confusing. So if I can suggest, you can use, there's a raise hand button at the end of the participant list. So use that one to ask your question. Okay, Florita?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Florita. I work for New HIV Vaccine and Microbicide Advocacy Society. I hope you're hearing me.
Yeah, we do. Can I ask you to let us know for which presenter is this question?
Yes, the first presenter, looking at the scientific...
the first one?
Yeah, it's the first presenter.
Okay. Right. So, Philippa.
Yes, I want to ask the question of the issue of selecting an abstract track, because sometimes you could find yourself doing work that's community-based, but then embedded within a clinical research, and you could be, in a stage where you'll be asking yourself, which track do I choose? Do I choose clinical trials or do I choose community? Let me illustrate this with the work we do. We are providing community engagement programs in an ongoing vaccine demonstration trial in Nigeria. And if I want to put together an abstract on the community engagement program, I will be asking myself, which track do I choose? Do I choose the prevention track that has to do with community, or do I choose clinical trial, considering the fact that the community engagement program was actually embedded within the clinical trial of a vaccine demonstration study? So I don't know if you could help.
Sarita, thank you for your question. I think that here the most important is actually to look at what each option covers. So if you're doing more of program implementation, program management, evaluation, you should use option 2. It doesn't matter if it's coming from a research group or if it's coming from a university group. It's what exactly you are doing. If it would fit more of a lessons learned through a program, through a project, then you should use option 2.
Okay. All right, thank you. I still have a second question, but not really a question, but a comment. I want to ask if you'll be able to access the PowerPoint of this presentation. Is it going to be posted or mailed to the participants?
Okay, so this presentation will be available on the AIDS 2013 website under the webinar tab. So the video and audio, and also the presentation itself, the PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much for the question, which reads, could PLWH be acceptable in an abstract in your view? First of all, the abbreviation for people living with HIV that is accepted by UNAIDS is PLHIV. That is accepted terminology according to UNH, so it can be used. You still have to spell it out the first time you use it. And I would also advise only to use the abbreviation again if you use it more than 3 times in an abstract. From the community of people living with HIV, they prefer not to be referred to using an abbreviation. At least that's sort of the perception that is around. So if you don't have to use it, just spell it out.
We have another question in the chat from Billy, and it says, the question is, I'm not sure how extensive my results will be by February, and I know I will have my results by March, and if this would exclude from submitting an abstract. Thank you, Billy, for your question, and I'm not sure if you know, but in addition to the normal period for submitting the abstract, the conference also offers a late breaker submission, and this is for those studies where the results will not be available during the normal submission period. So Billy, this will be your case. And if the results are still too preliminary in February, the advice would be for you to submit your abstract for the late breaker period. And this will be starting in April, May. Okay, thank you.
Other question? And if you're shy, you can use the chat. Okay, so I don't see anyone raising hand, and I don't see anyone writing in the chat. So we will end the meeting here now. If you have any question, oh, I have a question now. So you mentioned that the most common reason for rejecting an abstract is the lack of originality. Do you think that mentors can provide feedback on this? Thank you.
So the mentors will give you constructive feedback regarding your abstract, the content, if there's enough detail, if you should explain something in more detail, or if something isn't clear. They will not give you any advice on whether they think your abstract will be accepted or rejected at the conference, because that is completely independent. The program is not linked at all to the conference review system. So in that way, they can obviously, they will look out for common mistakes that appear in abstract and will help you sort of revise those, but it can obviously not give you any advice on acceptance or rejection.
Okay, so I think we can close this webinar. So as I was saying before, please refer to our 8/2014 website for all your requests. You can write to the abstract email. You can also write to the webinar email if you have any question, and I will make sure to ask my colleague to reply to your question. Thank you very much again for attending the webinar, and I hope to see you in other webinars as well. Thank you.